So recently I decided to try out some new aircraft that I've never really given a fair shot before, because previously, 11.7s or whatever like that haven't really been in a good spot in sim, let's say, but just with the way the battle rating system works. I'm not going to get too into it with the way how it works in sim, but basically 11.7s would always face an up tier every single match. There was no possibility of a down tier or anything like that. So in short, you would suffer, right? However, last week we got some new battle rating. I think it was last week. We got some new BR brackets, and that basically means that the 11.7 planes that were previously, not really worth playing, now 2 days, every 2 days sit at the top of the BR bracket, which means they're guaranteed a down tier like every single match that you play. And among those planes, now if you've recognised the cockpit from the thumbnail, then congratulations, you're obviously a sim player, and you might have already sort of realised what I'm trying to guess at here, but obviously the star of today's video is going to be the JH7A sitting in the Chinese tech tree. Now it sits at the end of the attacker line. It's the one that looks a little bit like a Jaguar slash T2, but just a little bit fatter, right? Now, why am I making a video on this plane, you may ask? Well, that's a very good question, I'll tell you. Now, if you've ever flown the Jaguar, you'll know that that thing is actually quite a maneuverable plane. It can actually dogfight quite well, but the one thing it always lacks is thrust. And this thing handles a bit like a Jaguar, but it has just that. It has excess amounts of thrust that the Jaguar just doesn't have. And that means that you can merge with Mirages like this, like you see in the footage right here, and you can actually give them a pretty good fight. Now, was this guy the best player in the world? Probably not, no. Did he make some mistakes in the fight? Yes, definitely. But this is also kind of reflective of the average experience I sort of have in this game when fighting Mirages, because most people that you go up against in this game don't really, not everyone that you fight in this game is going to have like 2,000 hours experience, right? The thing is though, at this kind of battle rating 11.7, right, the Mirage, it's so good that in most cases you're not actually fighting the other player in the Mirage, you're fighting the Mirage itself. Now, I can only ever think of two other planes at this battle rating that can give the Mirage a pretty good run for its money. One being the F-14, but that thing comes with a whole host of other issues, and the other one being the MiG-23. The one thing that this thing does better though than those other two planes is slow speed climbing, so, or stacking, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you can see in the footage here, I'm at like 200 knots or whatever, 250 knots, and I'm just pulling the nose up, and it's just staying up there. Eventually I dropped the throttle down and I slide, I dropped the nose because the Mirage obviously stalled out and I wanted to get nose on him. But this thing can keep going. It's not quite on the F-15 level, but the F-15 is also at like 12.3 or 12.7 or whatever it is at now. But this thing's pretty close. It can stack, it can keep its nose up there. And you can also, I've also had fights against F-16s in this thing, where you can just sort of sit about, like you're both kind of like in a little spiral climb. And you can stay up there longer than the F-16 can, surprisingly, and this is like a ground attacker, you know what I mean? So, you can definitely pull some like little wild cards and stuff if people don't really know what kind of plane you're in. And that's kind of one of the neat things about flying unpopular aircraft, is because a lot of people don't really know what to expect, especially if it's a bit of a sleeper plane as well, which is a term that I'm going to coin right now. They just don't know what to expect from you, and then you just pull the nose up. They follow you, expecting to like catch you or whatever, and you just sit up there. Obviously, you need to be careful with missiles and stuff like that, obviously. But this thing does get 84 countermeasures, which is a fairly decent amount for this kind of BR. There isn't too many planes at this battle rating that have IRCCM as well. I think the Mirage actually is one of the planes. It gets two Magic 2s, which I think have the same IRCCM that the R73s have. So like the one where the Seeker FOV thing shrinks down so it doesn't see any flares. And then there's also obviously the AIM-9M on the Harrier and stuff like that. So there isn't a lot of the planes though, and with those amount of flares, you do generally, like, you are served quite well. I think it's a very generous amount of flares. As far as the missile armaments go on this plane, you get 4 missiles in total. You unlock the PL-5Cs first, and then you go over to the PL-8s. Now the PL-5Cs are basically the all-aspect versions of the PL-5Bs. If you've never played China before, whatever, the PL-5 is actually a pretty awesome missile. It's very unique to the Chinese tech tree. There's not a lot else like it in the game. I think if I had to compare it to something in the other tech trees, I would say maybe it's kind of maybe like a Magic 2, kind of like that, but it has a little bit more range. But it's a very fast missile. The motor burns up very quick as well, but it does glide for quite a long time. And then you also get the PO8s, which are the Python 3 missiles in the Israeli tech tree, which is basically just like a 40G AML. Also, the cannon that this thing gets isn't amazing. It's the what is it, the Gush 23 or whatever it's called. It's the same one that the MiG-21 has and the MiG-23. Not amazing, very slow velocity, does kind of damage, but I guess it's better than nothing. Also, I just merged with a tornado, and it looks like he decided to actually try and turn with me, but I have no idea what he was actually trying to do there. It looks like he kind of went for like some sort of upwards flat spin or something. Then he just decided to bail out, so yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I know that the tornado's a bit of a struggle bus, but like, come on, man. Like, why do people do this? Why do people just bail out just before you're about to kill them? I mean, I don't, I mean, you're gonna die anyway. I don't understand really what, but you know, but whatever, it's just a game. Now, if you can see in the footage, I did just merge with another Mirage 2000. Now, I think this was the same guy from before. I'm not entirely sure, but all I know is that he did play this a little bit more intelligently than the last time. As you can see, he opts for the 2-circle fight, which is something you don't really want to do in a Mirage, but, you know, also, if you're a Mirage at 11.7, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. I try and stick it out. I try and bleed him with his energy here. The more you turn, obviously, the more energy the Mirage is going to bleed, and this thing has better energy retention than the Mirage. So you want to just kind of keep him turning as much as possible. And that is actually what I'm doing. And one of the good things here is I'm getting a little bit fast here again. I'm about 420 now. You want to ideally be around 400. But the beauty about this thing is it's not like an F-14 where you have to be at exactly 400 knots the whole time, right? Or it's just, you know, with the wings fully out, otherwise you're just not going to turn at all or whatever. This thing turns pretty well in a very wide range of speeds, right? You can turn optimum speed is obviously going to be around 400 as always, like with most planes in this game. But even at slow speeds, even at speeds like 300 knots or something, which is generally quite a slow speed for these kind of jets. I think 300 knots is about 600-ish kilometers an hour, by the way. You can still turn. You can accelerate out of turns. You can actually maneuver. It doesn't just like freeze up or lock up or whatever like that. This is a very, very versatile plane to dogfight in, and that's why I actually like it so much. That's why I think it's so good for this battle rating. Yes, that teammate did just get the kill, not me, but you know, the Mirage was basically focused on me the whole time, and I just wanted to include that clip just to show you a little bit about like how you can... I'm trying to give you guys ideas on how to fight the Mirage, right? Because I know at this battle rating the Mirage is a little bit, you know, let's just say it is a bit OP, right? It should be at 12.0. It shouldn't be fighting these things at this kind of battle rating. I guess you could kind of make the argument about the MiG-23 and maybe even this plane as well in particular. Maybe you could make an argument, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But the Mirage is kind of terrorizing this battle rating right now, and I'm just trying to give you guys a few ideas on how to sort of deal with them, right? Obviously this is going to vary from pilot to pilot and on different skill levels, even if the guy's flying the Mirage, but you know, in general, you got to get kind of creative. You got to sort of learn how that thing flies, and you got to learn how to drain it of energy. Otherwise, you're just not. If you just turn into them the whole time, you're gonna lose every single fight because the thing is just gonna, you know, the Mirage turns tighter than you. So, by the way, props to whoever actually counts how many times I said Mirage in this video. However, there is one thing that I haven't mentioned about this plane yet, and it's the one area where I think this aircraft kind of trumps the F-14 on the MiG-23 in. And it's also kind of, I think, the main reason why the way this plane performs in AirRB is so different to the way it performs in Sim, and that's to do with the avionics package that this thing gets. Yes, obviously, if you've been paying attention, this thing gets the good Western-style RWR, the one that identifies the names of the radars that lock you up, so giving you excellent situational awareness, also shows you the distances of stuff without having to point your radar at them, which is just immensely helpful in Sim. I've already been over this in the last video. And you also get a very, very good radar. Now, the radar is a medium PRF radar, which basically means that it tracks targets coming towards you and going away from you, so unlike the HDN mode that you get in something like an F-14, for instance, or the Mirage 2000 even. For all intents and purposes, it is the same radar as the F-16As get, so it doesn't get the TWS mode. However, it gets a kind of like a vertical scan in the ACM, which is very helpful as well, especially for dogfighting. If you're trying to get like kind of like slightly off bore shots off or whatever, it can be kind of helpful. I mean, you do get Pythons after all, which is a 40G missile. And just combining the radar with the super situational awareness RWR, along with the flare count that this thing gets, along with the amazing flight performance that you get, along with the great missile package that this thing gets, you do actually get a very survivable package. This is a very, very good package. Did I mention you also get ground ordnance? This plane can carry 6 laser guided bomb units alongside with 2 PL5Cs as well, so you can actually do ground attack. I don't play ground RB much myself, but this is something you can do, and it's pretty good. Also in the footage here you can see I've merged with another Mirage. I'm in a nice little dogfight here, and this I think is a very good example of what happens when you fight a Mirage pilot who actually knows what they're doing, and they land shots on you like that. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't an absolutely flawless fight from me either, but yeah, I just don't want you to have any illusions of this plane. This isn't an instant win button against Mirages every single time, absolutely not, but it does allow you to put up a decent fight against a Mirage in something that isn't an F-14 or a MiG-23. Now, I want to say real quick as well, obviously if you have this thing, it's only going to be an 11-7 down tier every 2 days, so the other 2 days you're going to be in a full up tier, right? So it's either or. And in the full up tier, you're obviously going to be going up against F-16Cs, F-16As, F-15s and stuff like that. And you can dogfight them like fairly well. Obviously you're going to be facing a lot more IRCCM missiles at that kind of battle rating, so the flare count might be a little bit more tricky to deal with. It has around about the same amount of countermeasures as the F-16 MOU, which is in the same tech tree. However, that thing's actually fast and it can kind of get itself out of situations where this thing can't really escape once you're in a fight just because of how slow you are. It's not like A10 slow or whatever, but you are going to struggle to catch people. In fact, that is going to be your main issue, is just catching enemies off guard or whatever like that. But at the end of the day, you just got to remember that this is at heart a ground attacker, right? It gets the 6 LGBUs. That's what it's designed to do, and the fact that it can do anything else air to air is just a bonus. That's how you have to see it. Word of advice would be to, if you're planning on doing air to air, try and stick to the smaller maps. As you can see here, I was in Stalingrad, but you know, you can do stuff like Tunisia or Port Moresby is a really good one as well. It's just if you're on a big map, because of the top speed on this thing, you're going to be following people quite a lot. Also, when it comes to the fuel load, just pick the 30 minutes of fuel. You do not need the maximum amount of fuel. I think it's like 50 minutes, whatever this thing comes with. You do not need that. It's just going to weigh you down, and this thing could become a bit of a brick. Ideally, you want to be on 20 minutes, but that can be a little bit tricky to deal with sometimes. Anyway, I was getting quite hungry at this point, so I just ended up leaving the match before it ended. Final score was 17-5, so I did die quite a few times, but you know, what can you expect? Sometimes it just be like that, right? Definitely try this thing out. If you have China grinded out to anywhere near this plane, I think it's definitely worth going that little bit extra. Definitely worth investing the silver lines into it. It is a fun plane to fly. Other than that, join our Discord. It's in the description if you're interested in a sim Discord. And other than that, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers.